Well, hi there. This is Leslie from LuvINK&Paper, and I wanted to share. We've talked about masking a couple of times, and there's a couple of different ways that you can do it. Sometimes you mask so that you make sure that something looks like it's inside. Like when I used this milk can, I lined it up with the edge so that the flowers I was stamping on there made sure that it looked like it was inside the milk can, not on the milk can. You don't want it to be like the milk can is transparent or something. So that's one way to mask. Another way to mask is to have a hole, and you can either and then you can have like a circle. You could do a sun or something like that. So if you punch out a shape, you can do that. That's another mask. We're going to try one today, and I'm just going to tear this edge. Now you do know that you have the best paper shaping tools right there at the end of your hands. Now you want to pull towards you, and you want to keep both hands, your holding hand and your tearing hand, close together. Because if you just pull, you have absolutely no control over where that tear is going, okay? But if you're keeping your hands close, then you can control the tear. Okay, you can make it go where you want. Now I'm trying to take just a very tiny bit because I want as much of that sticky to stay on there as I can. So I'm gonna just go along here. Oops, it's not quite long enough. All right, I guess we're going to have to get another smaller one here. Okay. Here, we'll cut this one in half, or about half. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. And we'll go a little bit more. And the reason I'm doing the tearing is because sometimes I want a real straight, flat edge, but this time of year especially, the leaves are dry and curling and stuff, and I just wanted a little bit more texture, so I wanted that torn edge as opposed to the real straight edge. And both are fine, and both are pretty. You can do either. Doesn't really make any difference. Okay. Let's see here. I'll just finish that up a little bit. So then we'll put this up here. So we'll have a little space in between. Okay. Like that. I may actually move these two down just a smidge. Yeah, I think I want that down just a little wee bit. Okay. Like that. And by having the Post-it notes hanging off the edge, that secures this a little bit, so that's good. All right, let's just finish this little bit that we need here. There. Okay. There. All right. So you can use sponges, you can use a lot of different things to color this space. I'm going to choose to use my sponge brayer and my Bumblebee ink pad. Okay. Now when you use a brayer and an ink pad, you need to be careful that you are inking the whole thing. So you want to either push and lift or pull and lift so that it's going. What you don't want to do is back and forth, because then you're only getting ink on a very small part of your brayer. Okay, so you're going to kind of like that. And then I'm going to see what I've got. Okay, so not a ton, so we're okay here. So we're just going to roll back and forth. Okay, and I'm hoping that's not wiggling you guys too bad up there. Okay, just going to add a little bit more. Okay, and just keep moving that ink around a little bit. It won't dry super quick, so you do have a little time to okay. All right, so then you can add lots of things. Now, there's a couple of ways, and I think I might do a little of both. So you can add things with your masks intact, and then your things won't go out of that space. Or you can stamp things that go out of that space intentionally. Okay, so let me show you a little bit of both. One of the fun things that you can do is put a whole bunch of rubber bands on a block. Whoa. And then you're not going to get all of those lines, because only the top most ones that are touching the ink and the paper will actually print. But you can ink up, and I'm going to just use a little old olive and just ink up those rubber bands a little bit. See how you're just getting a little bit of ink on there, and then you kind of get some kind of neat markings on there. And you can go back in the ones where they're a little lighter too. Okay, I'm going to stamp on here before I stamp it on there. Okay, so there's that. All right. Put that over there so it doesn't get all yucky. Then I have pumpkin pie, and I was going to do this. I think we're going to save that. Let's do a couple of leaves here. I almost think I want Cajun Craze instead of pumpkin pie, but we're going to try this because that rubber band texture is going to add to the texture of the leaves here. I think it's going to look good. Okay. All right. Then, see how the leaves didn't leak out and you have that nice finite edge? But that doesn't mean that everything has to be that way. All right, let's take a little cinnamon cider. And let's just add, you know what, this is not, I didn't think this was, I know which stamp set I wanted to add to this. It's the Rooted in Nature. There it is. Okay, that has some great leaves in it. Yeah. Okay. we're going to just add a couple of these because the wheat was not really what I wanted. I know. All right, so let me show you kind of the difference. Okay, so you can take one of these leaves and so now you've got some that's leaking out of that, and that's okay too. All right, so you can kind of go do this whole thing, but I think I want it going the other way. So up here, this is not going to show, but here it's leaking out. All right, which is kind of neat. All right, so then I take those off, and so now you've got this really kind of cool thing in the center, right? And I think we will use that. All right, let's get our pumpkin here. So I think I want my little pumpkin down here on the corner, like this. And okay, whoop. So here's where we're going to use a mask in a different way. I want to have that pumpkin, but I also want the two smaller pumpkins. To look as though they're behind this bigger one. Like that. Okay, so now when we pull this mask, it's going to look like those pumpkins are in the back. All right, and those masks just kind of hang out in my stamp set. Okay, then we'll take the Season of Thanks and add that over here like that. Okay, and I might even add, because you know me, let's take a wink of Stella and just run that around a little bit. Oh, we need a little more than that, so we can pick a little up off the cover. Okay, just a smidge. And I'm going to start by the line so it doesn't show that I'm adding a ton of color. Okay. Just want a little bit of color in there. So if I start near the line, then it's not going to, you know what I'm saying? Now we do want this one to shadow a little bit more over here. Okay. We want a little shadow underneath there. We definitely don't want it to look like our pumpkins are floating. Okay. right. That is looking pretty good. I think let's just finish it off. Could even add that. What do I have? Or that. I think we're going to add this, a little Stampin' seal. And then I think I have some, oh yes, I do. I have some linen thread over here. So we'll give it a nice double bow. You guys get those? Like little bits of stuff from your craft table, little pieces of ribbon, all these little things that find their way all over the place. All right, we're just gonna, if you kind of pull a little bit, you can kind of get some of that curl out of there. Right. And then we'll just do a quick little double bow here. There. Like that. There. There. I think we might want to trim those a little shorter. There. Okay. All right, we'll put that on in just a minute. Let's clear out my mess and let's layer up this card. All right, so I have a crumb cake base. Whoop. All right, crumb cake base, a Cajun Craze layer here that's 5 1/4 by 4. So we'll put that on the front. Like that. This is actually 3 1/2 by 5. It should be 3 3/4, but it was a piece that was on my table. And it was probably one that I was using for an inside piece. I've shown you guys why I cut my insides at 3 1/2 by 5, because you get 5 out of a piece of paper instead of just 4. So when you're doing the insides of things, that gives you plenty of space to write on. All right, so let's grab a glue dot and use the end of my take your pick tool to kind of roll it into a narrower spot here. Put it on the back of my bow like that, and we'll just put it right here on that leaf like that. Okay. Put those apart. There we go. There. All right. So lots of different ways to use masks. So here's a different way. All right. And I'm going to just get rid of this because it's messy. There. All right. So another way to use a mask. All right. Thanks for joining me on this Friday afternoon. Well, it was Friday where I am. And I look forward to stamping with you again soon. Bye.